Let's be honest, with so many partner programs out there, it's not always easy to know which ones will really help move your business forward. Solution providers are juggling a lot, and they need programs that offer clarity, support, and real results. That's why Schneider Electric took a step back and listened to partner feedback and made some meaningful changes. Here to walk us through what's different and how it's helping partners work smarter are LoBello and Larry Hann from Schneider Electric. How you two?
Hey, Sydney.
Doing great.
Let's start with the why. You've made some big changes to the partner program, not just additions, but a real shift in how partners engage. What's changed and why now?
Yeah, I'll take that. It's a great question, Sydney. And the why is so important. So partners are very busy, right? They belong to multiple vendor programs. They're dealing with different tech stacks from different vendors. And so many partners might realize that in 2022, we actually did a global rollout where we simplified the structure of our program. And since that time, and since this journey that I've been on, because I started in this role about a year ago, we kind of revisited the program and we received some partner sentiment and, to be honest, some seller sentiment that was very illuminating and really helped us make some observations about the current state of the program. We knew when we rolled the program out, we added a lot of value. So the value was there. We didn't necessarily need to rebuild the house. We just needed to flip the lights on for the partner so that they could see clearly. So this new rollout is really about two things. It's about driving more clarity and driving more momentum. And so with clarity comes what we call the three pillars. So the first one is around simplicity. Simplicity in terms of our partners understanding how to navigate the program. The second one is around transparency, making sure they understand how to participate in the program and what's available to them within the program. And the third one is around consistency and making sure that we're consistently talking to them about the program in a same way, from leadership to the sellers to our program strategy team, but across our different touch points, whether that's collateral, videos like this, etc.
And when you talk about simplifying the program, what does that actually mean for partners? What's become clearer or easier?
Yeah, so we really took a step back and you really don't know if you're winning if you can't see the scoreboard, right? So what we decided to do is we really looked at three key things that we found were sort of gaps in the program today in terms of showcasing those three pillars. The first one was around annual revenue requirements and making sure that we simplified that in terms of partners understanding their status of the program, but understanding how they can control that. And so we've switched from a percentage-based approach to an absolute number in terms of annual revenues. So select Premier and Elite partners now will really understand where they stand in terms of the year of progress they've made across the revenue. Instead of looking at a percentage, they look at absolute numbers. The second thing we looked at is in terms of deal registration and the annual requirement for that. And so when we looked at some of the data, we realized that, there were some that were really overachievers, and then there were some who were just on the cusp of achieving what they needed to set out to achieve to advance within the program. And so we removed that barrier. We lowered the thresholds for deal registration to make it easier for partners to achieve, attain, get the value, and move within the program, which, of course, as you go up in our program in terms of the three levels, we have select, premier, and elite levels, you get more benefits. And the third one is around just simplifying the deal registration tiering. In some cases, there was some overlap. So just making sure that it reflected where the partner was and their appropriate level.
Of course, simplicity is one piece, but partners also want support that helps them move faster. What kinds of enablement updates have you built in to help them get up to speed and stay successful?
Yes. So this is really about expansion. So now that we've laid the solid, I'll call it blueprint in phase one, the first few innings, now we're going out and we're expanding the value and doing it and delivering it in a faster way. And so with that, we have a couple things. It's kind of like you have a solid blueprint. Let's add a pool to the house, right? Or let's add more rooms, or let's add a third floor, a second floor. And so we're doing that across three big changes. Number one is we have a new MDF model that we're rolling out, which is a really exciting opportunity for partners to take advantage of. The new MDF model, we looked at current state, what the market looks like in terms of what other vendors are doing, and we tried to separate ourselves from that pack a little bit more. And so, of course, we offer the flexibility of tapping into a pooled MDF account where you have to request funding and submit a business case. But we also are combining that with what we call business development funds. And business development funds is broken out into two parts. The first part is really around accrual based MDF or individual MDF. So this is tacking on that transparency so partners understand where they are in terms of their budgets for MDF for the year. And then tacking on also performance based rebates so that we're rewarding the actual organization at the same time. So that's the first one. The second one is around this new program benefit called Gateway. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So I won't share too much now, but I believe that Gateway is a great opportunity for partners to receive more financial incentives in terms of taking them on this software journey that we're going on, in terms of identifying insights into an architecture that would lead to more conversations with customers, more hardware refresh opportunities, and opens up the door for lifecycle services as well. And the third one is really about systems in terms of tools and making sure that when we are going to pay out our partners, we can do so faster and also provide them with enablement tools like a marketing hub where they get access to our best campaign assets. They can leverage those, they can co-brand them, they can share them with and deploy them from the platform with their other users. So those are the big three that we're really excited about and rolling out. We started this journey in terms of Gateway was launched in April of this time. We have seen some great progress with that. And then all of these other improvements, we're still rolling out. We're starting to socialize those with our partners.
Now that these updates are live, how are partners responding? What are you hearing from those who've started using the revamped partner program already?
I think it's a little early in terms of getting true partner sentiment across all of these pillars that we're talking about. We still have areas of improvement. We're still executing across these, but we've seen some really positive momentum in terms of two things. One is this new MDF model that we're rolling out and hearing some positive feedback based on some initial conversations. And then the second one is with our progress with Gateway program benefit dedicated to making sure that we're getting more momentum and traction with our software. And so I think the positive feedback that we've had so far proves that we're adding more value and we're meeting partners where they are in their journey as opposed to just designing something for them. We're working alongside of them. And maybe Larry, you have some more feedback direct from just sales positions in general.
Yeah, and John, I was gonna chime in. So Sydney, to John's point, we're in early innings in regards to the changes to the program. We did pilot with a couple of partners just to try and test out how this might go, and we had one that has a little bit more national presence that we've invested in the past, but more to the model that John talked about, where they would just ask for funds and we would fund their sales kickoff, or we would do some regional events. And one of the things that we looked at is that a lot of that spending actually went more towards partner facing activity as opposed to demand gen. So we were able to actually sit down with them and kind of outline how we would invest with them moving forward, showing how some of that MDF would be funding that they could put towards their bottom line. But then the other thing that we did is we said, well, instead of taking the remaining MDF and put it towards your sales kickoff, let's go and actually apply that more towards demand gen with your branches and see what we can do. And they embrace that, especially since from a marketing perspective, they could tie up with their management and show how they're bringing profitability back to their business. But then by reallocating those funds, we've actually seen immediate return. So our deal wedge with that partner are up actually 37% since the point that we did that. But the other thing that's even more important is that the size of those deals is actually up by 95%. So not only are we getting more at bats with them by taking this model, but we're actually finding larger deals, which then will actually help them for next year as we start to look at what the bucket will be for them to spend, so we can actually invest even more in them. So again, it's one example, one data point, but that's where we are taking that and driving a different conversation with the partner, and we are seeing benefits from doing that.
That speaks volumes. Now, let's shift from structure to impact. It's one thing to have a streamlined program and another to see it drive real business. Let's talk about the tools and incentives you've introduced to help partners bring in new opportunities. One of the biggest additions is the Power Infrastructure Assessment tool, and it's getting a lot of attention. For partners who haven't used it yet, what is it and how does it work?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So I'll continue on kind of the trend of what we're trying to do is try to change how we interact with the partners. I think the biggest thing with the power infrastructure assessments is that we're trying to leverage this rich data that we have through our software and enable our partners to drive a business outcome with their customers by helping them really understand what's going on within their infrastructure. I get pulled into a number of customer engagements, and typically there's two or three things that come up when I talk to those customers. So ask them why they'd be interested in having this conversation. And one of the main ones that comes up is, in a lot of cases, they don't have a lot of visibility to what's going on to their edge devices, so their UPSs that are outside of the data center. But another thing that's going on is that they're getting more and more pressure to make sure those devices are up and running, but they're actually having challenges with resources. They're seeing the resources either decrease or the demand is just so much that they can't keep up with it. So they're actually looking for help to go and do that. So one of the things that the power infrastructure assessments does is it gives the partners a tool to go and actually help their customers solve those problems. Another thing that typically comes up to with those customers is they're trying to rationalize their spend around their support. So to make sure it's standardized, and they can't do that with that visibility. So the power infrastructure assessment gives them that. Within our software, we actually give them visibility to the health of the UPSs. We actually show them if there's potential vulnerabilities from a device security perspective. We actually give them visibility into the warranty status, if there's entitlements on it. We even have a report that actually shows the amount of downtime that's happened within their environment. So all of this information can be aggregated and provided back to the customer. It enables that partner to kind of drive that consultative engagement with them and really help solve whatever their business needs are.
Larry, you just spoke on this, but I want to dive a little bit deeper. Beyond the mechanics, why is this tool so effective? And what makes it a meaningful lead generation resource for partners?
Yeah, so I'll actually bring up a specific example just to kind of reinforce how this can help. And I can't share the name of the school district, but they have given us permission to do a success story. So you'll hear more about them in the future. This particular school district actually was calling into our call center to get battery replacements for the UPSs. They actually called into the call center 78 times, and it actually allowed it to about 20 hours of trying to do triage to get support. So we actually took that information and we reached out to them and said, hey, look, we can actually help you with this by actually leveraging our software. And the other aspect that one of the reasons they were having so much trouble is that they had aging units. They didn't have visibility, they didn't have the resources, and they were just reacting to downtime events left and right. So what we did is actually we deployed the software. We did an assessment of their environment. They had close to 600 devices that they were managing. And we actually used the data we collect for them to actually help them put together a budget proposal, which then was used to go and leverage actually through E-rate to get funding. And we've actually kicked off that program. They've refreshed 200 of their UPSs. They bought close to 600 nodes of our software. And we're going to be continuing to refresh as we go through the next business cycle. So that's a perfect example where we leverage data, not only data in regards to what's going on with their environment, but then showed them what that environment looks like, and then use that to go create the business case for them to get the funding so they can go do the things they need to move their business forward.
That's a great success story. Now, can you give us a look at how partners are actually using it in the field? What kind of results or momentum are you seeing right now?
Yeah, so there, and this is the really interesting thing is since we launched the benefit of Gateway is that we've really evolved this, and we'll talk a little bit about this a little bit later. We first came out with the benefit. We really looked at this as a hunting tool or a lead gen engine. And what we found as we started to interact with the partners is that there's actually multiple ways that we can actually leverage this to bring value. So the first is as a hunting tool. So we have a 10-year look back on install base, so we can go to the partner and basically show them what customers bought from them over that 10 years. And we use that information to go to put together a business case that goes to establish an assessment with that customer. And the partners really like this because it actually gives them another opportunity or reason to reach out to the customer and have a conversation. If they've just sold new infrastructure, typically it's a 3 to 5 year period before they go back to them. So this gives them a reason to do that. So that's one way that's being used as a hunting tool. Another way that we've seen it being used, we have a partner that has a customer success team, and they actually do quarterly business reviews with their customers around enterprise agreements they have with Cisco. And what they did is actually they put a slide around UPS health assessments or power infrastructure assessments, and they basically position this to see, as we look at it and talk about how we can help you in regards to these enterprise agreements, we can actually help you understand what's going on with your UPSs and maybe expand that reach, expand the conversation around that. So we've kicked off a program with that, and we've already started to see some immediate success with some assessments. And then the third way that we've seen this being used is we do have a couple of partners that are more mature in regards to the managed services angle. So they're actually using this to go and position the assessments into customers that they already have under management. Maybe they're managing their network or they're doing first call support. So they're using this as a way to go and actually drive more additional conversation and drive more reach into their customer base.
And when it comes to rewards, you've also rolled out new financial incentives that complement these tools. What update should partners be aware of there?
When you think about Gateway as a program benefit, this is the Power Infrastructure assessment is embedded in this program benefit. And the reward for the partner is we provide training. We provide training so the partner understands the opportunity with our software, which is called EcoStruxure IT Expert, and what that unlocks: more conversations with end users, more revenue opportunity, better margins, et cetera. So better business outcomes. And to reward them at the start, we actually incentivized our partners to take advantage of this benefit because they would be reimbursed for their licenses up to 100 if they're a premier level partner, up to 200 licenses if there's elite level partner. We're starting to roll out some promotions as well to include select partners so that they feel the love. But, I think what we identified as we pushed this into the market is a couple of things from a messaging standpoint. Gateway is the program benefit, but the value is in this power assessment tool. That's what really drives the behavior and the adoption. And so we identified that. So we're leading with power infrastructure assessment. And the benefit is the Gateway program benefit. But I believe Larry can shed some light on, based on some opportunities, we identified that we could actually offer a little bit more incentive.
Yeah, so I'll take that as a jumping off point. So just as I had mentioned, as we have more conversations with the partners, we've identified different ways that we can expand our value for them. And there was a couple things that came up. One, from a rep perspective, the benefits that we put in place were good from a corporate perspective, but we didn't have enough there in regards to the reps. So one of the things that we added after we introduced the Gateway benefit is we actually added a 20% discount on the sale of the software. So if you did an assessment and that led to the customer buying the software, we would give an additional 20% benefit to the rep so they could drive a little bit more margin and help with the retirement of their GP goals. The other thing that we pivoted on, and this is more around it is more for a benefit for the company, but we start looking at those performance rebates. So as we would sit down and talk with the principals at the partners, we'd start to identify targets as to what we thought success would look like. We're gonna do 25 assessments to their customer base. And what we said is, okay, well, if you actually do that, we'll actually put a performance rebate in place. And as you have success, as you start to move down the path, we'll reimburse you a certain dollar amount for that activity. that was a starting point, but we've actually seen partners use that in a couple of different creative ways. So I had one partner that we're working with where the behavior is actually driven by what they call their architecture team, which is really their technical team. But that team is actually a cost center for their business. So in order for us to really engage them, we had to help solve the problem of the fact that their time costs money to the organization. So we actually are putting together a performance rebate that will then reimburse the time of those architects to go and position the assessment to their customer. So now we've checked the box off as far as the cost, but now we also provide a tool that that team can use to expand the reach. That's one example of how we get creative. Another one, I'll circle back to the partner that is using the CSM team. So what they did with their performance rebate is they're going to take half of what we provide back to them and give it to the reps that are positioning the assessment. They're going to take the other half and put it towards their bottom line. But the key thing is that by having this as another tool in the toolbox, we can expand the conversation, get buy-off from those executives, which then drives the behavior. So it's not just a one-off engagement. Now it becomes part of their business cycle, and we just become part of the value that they're bringing to their customer.
You've shared how the Enhanced program is working now, but let's look ahead. Partners aren't just preparing for their next deal, they're building for what's next. Whether it's AI, sustainability, or edge computing, technology is moving fast. How is this updated program helping partners evolve alongside those shifts?
Yeah. AI is a hot topic, I suppose, these days, and we're really looking ahead. Part of the program revamp is a new messaging platform around let's build together. And that's really important to us because as you can tell, we're listening, we're taking what we hear in market and we're adjusting and we're providing a little bit more agility and flexibility to meet the partners where they are in their journey. And that holds true with anything we think about executing on in the future. We're talking about how do we create more value and enter into the conversation around AI in terms of providing an AI at the edge readiness tool for our partners to understand where they sit in terms of power management with this demand and this trend. So that's just an area that we're really focused on. Among other things, the power infrastructure assessment is setting folks up to be able to handle the new demand associated with inference and AI. And so this is also a tool that's leveraging data that helps them have these conversations in terms of the tackling the trends with their end users and making sure they take advantage of the data to mine the field.
And when it comes to standing out, how are partners using these changes to differentiate themselves in the market?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I think part of what they're using this power infrastructure assessment tool to differentiate themselves in the market is to make sure that they have this new opportunity that maybe didn't exist before around power management. There's a lot of statistics that Larry can shed light on around UPS management and more reactive management, which can be quite costly. And so this is the flip of that. This is an opportunity that they didn't know existed before in some cases, where they have an opportunity to manage power on behalf of their end users, make some monthly recurring revenue, or drive life cycle sales as a result, or hardware refresh opportunities as a result of using the data, having new conversations that they didn't have before with their end users, and taking that and creating new business outcomes.
Yeah, and I would just add to that. The other aspect of this is as we help the customers understand how they're managing their environment. One of the things that we are doing is actually helping them understand where they might be overspending today to support that environment. So as we fine tune that, that actually frees up money or funding that could then be used to go drive some other engagement. And that's where there is real value for the partners because instead of them spending on reacting to UPSs, they could be using that to go drive a new application or different infrastructure to meet some of those needs that might be coming from AI or whatever it is they need to do to react to the market. So it's the physical infrastructure is never the thing that most customers think about, but by us providing data and having this engagement, we're enabling them to think differently and act differently with their customers.
For partners who haven't fully explored the program just yet, what's one thing you wish more of them knew?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think we would lean into obviously this power infrastructure assessment, making sure everybody's aware of that and taking advantage of it and adding that to their arsenal. But I also think this new MDF model is pretty exciting for partners to leverage. I think it's an opportunity for them to take advantage of something that APC by Schneider Electric is offering that is a little bit different from other vendor programs. In addition to that, we're investing in people. My team is growing, which provides more support in terms of taking advantage or full advantage of what we offer through the program and making sure they maximize the benefits that we provide. So those are the things that I would say I would like to underscore right now.
And finally, for those ready to take that first step, what's the best way to get started?
I think the easiest path forward is just reaching out to their account manager or inside sellers team or channel managers and having a conversation about all of these new exciting enhancements and improvements for the program. And definitely make sure you ask about the power infrastructure assessment tool.
And I would just say, if you're not sure who your local rep is, the other angle you could go to is actually reach out to your distributor. We have funded heads that understand how our program works, and they could get you to the right contact too if you don't know where to start.
That's incredibly helpful. John, Larry, thank you both for breaking it all down and sharing how these updates are helping partners take action right now.
My pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
From simpler engagement to smarter lead generation, it's clear Schneider Electric is making it easier to grow with confidence. If you'd like to explore the Enhanced Partner Program or start using the Power Infrastructure Assessment tool, visit the website right there on your screen. For the Channel Company, I'm Sydney Neely. Thanks for watching.